Hello, Stuart.
Hello, Floris.
Stuart, a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
Are you a big Stephen King fan?
I am a huge Stephen King fan. I've read, I think... Oh, no, I was going to say most of his oeuvre, but Stephen King has written about 1 million books, most of them shit. So, no, but I've read the main ones. I've read all the main ones.
The main ones, like your Pet Cemeteries.
Your Pet Cemeteries.
Your Cells.
Your Cells.
Cujos.
Well, I haven't read Cujo, what's in the film. Your Tommy Knockers.
Did you read the one with the two towns in two different dimensions? He wrote that one under a pseudonym, and I recently...
Oh, was that one of the Bachman books?
Yeah, and it was pointed out to me, and I thought it was a very clever concept, but I haven't bothered picking up any of the books yet.
No, I haven't read it. The Running Man was written under that pseudonym.
Bachman.
Stephen King, I was saying this to the missus today, weirdly. Stephen King absolutely hates all of the Bachman books, and he would greatly appreciate it if you never mentioned it ever again, thanks.
Wow.
But I don't know why, because from what I can tell, they're actually not bad. But
Isn't Green Mile under a pseudonym?
No, I think that was just Stephen King.
Oh. Okay.
I think his main issue with the Bachman books is, as far as I can remember, he was roaring drunk for the entirety of it. So I don't think it reminds him of the happiest times of his life, really. I think that's his main issue.
Well, that might be a great reason why he doesn't want to be reminded of it.
Indeed. Although he does write about... Every Stephen King book is about there's a main character who has got a problem with drink or drugs, and he's a writer. Every single one.
Yeah, it's a pattern I've noticed.
Where does he get his ideas?
And a lot of them are in Maine, like the temperate climates, lots
almost
of greenwoods.
Yeah, almost all are in Maine, I think.
Yeah.
That's his little universe building thing. All linked back to Derry, Maine.
Yeah, that's his thing. Are you a big fan of the 1990 Stephen King It?
I haven't seen the 1990 Stephen King It because when I was about 6 or 7, I accidentally saw about 20 minutes of it, and as a result, I've had crippling coulrophobia ever. That's fear of clowns, listener. But you knew that. you knew that, didn't you, listener? I was mainly saying that.
You're clever like us.
Exactly. Yeah, I've had crippling coulrophobia since, and so I've never been able to go back and watch the 1990 version of It. I did see some clips of it recently, though, on YouTube, and it just seems camp now, more than anything.
And are you drinking anything?
I am. I'm drinking a quite charming little Côte de Rhône. My favourite of all the red wines, of which there are many. I've not tried them all, granted, but this is the favourite one. This is my favourite one that I have tried.
I'll die trying to.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a 2015 Côte de Rhône. It's quite nice. What about yourself?
Which one? Are we going in reverse order? I am drinking.
Yes, go in reverse order. Yes.
I'm drinking a Weizen Paulaner, except instead of drinking it from a glass and pouring it from a bottle, I've gone the cheap route and I've bought it in half-litre cans.
Nice, beautiful stuff.
I felt like it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's efficient drinking.
I've seen Stephen King's It before in 1990, but I didn't remember a single thing of it. And I didn't see it again until tonight.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I just wanted to see what that was like, because you know me, I tend to like things from the 80s, because
yes,
I'm one of those horrible people that think that movies were better back then.
I mean, they were. Yeah, the missus really wants to give the 1990 version of It a watch. Would you like to tell the listener why we've started off this ramble by talking so heavily about Stephen King, and in particular?
I think it's rather obvious that we're going to be talking about Stephen King's It from 2017.
Yeah, we are.
I'm not a huge Stephen King fan. I've read a couple of his books, but not even like the main ones, like you say. Just not one here or there. So I can take him or leave him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of it's rubbish.
Yeah, apparently, like you just said. But I was kind of stoked about this remake that came out. Because, well, the entire idea of a clown killing kids transforming into things in a small town. That's great. You can do so much with that. But I felt like the first time I saw a trailer, it felt very easy, loud, and jump scary.
Mm-hmm.
Very cliche. So imagine my surprise going into this film that it is indeed very loud and has a lot of jump scares.
So many jump scares.
So many jump scares.
I guess we should say up front, this is going to get spoilery.
We are going to cover spoilers, I suppose. But if you haven't seen it, or you've seen the old It, or you've read the book, you already know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, indeed. Actually, we didn't mention, since we touched on the novels and stuff, I will say It is my second favourite Stephen King novel. It is one of my favourite books ever. I absolutely love it. I read it on holiday in France a couple of years ago, and 2 out of 5 nights I had to sleep with the light on. Because it was fucking... As I say, I'm already a bit dodgy with clowns anyway because of my exposure to the 1990 miniseries. But man, that book did things to me. I remember discussing it with my mate who I was on holiday with, and he was like, "You do know that if they don't kill that clown at the end of that book, you'll never be able to sleep again." And I was like, "Oh fuck!" But yeah, no, I really, really, really love the book. And so when they brought out when they announced the remake and stuff, and the trailers started coming out, it was hitting all the right. Like when I looked at it, the trailers, it was hitting all the right notes for me. I love the look of Bill Skarsgård. I like the look of him even more with makeup on. He's already quite scary without the makeup. And then all the just the tone of it and everything, it seemed pretty perfect from the trailers. We'll get into my thoughts on the tone and stuff as we go on the actual movie. But I mean, how do you want to do this? Do you want to sort of walk us through it, and we'll sort of pick it apart as we go, or? Yeah,
just go by the movie mostly. Let's see how quickly we can wrap this up and not make the 2 hours long as the film itself. Right, so the opening, I was a bit put off by it at first because, like I said, it's very loud, and I'm not quite sure if it's just this movie or just modern movies in general, but like the radio crackle with the walkie-talkie.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of put me in a sour mood.
You're just getting old. It's just you're cranky. You're like, oh, this movie's too loud. These young people today with their loud movies.
Not like that. I feel like if you have a jump scare and you build tension up towards it, that's good. You can have that with anything. But if you're just having it because your movie's loud, like I said to you before, Silent Hill has done it with Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, okay. Actually, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean, actually.
So you got the kid running across the screen, and suddenly it's like a loud radio crackle, and it's like
you go because it's a fucking big loud
the audience
noise out of nowhere.
Goes like, "Oh!" And I'm like, "Yeah, but there wasn't anything really." So it's just, if I suddenly turn up the volume on this, then
it's just because you're a human being in the dark, and you're suddenly hit with a big noise. You are going to be scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But aside from that, I thought that the opening with Georgie and Pennywise.
Yes.
I thought it was actually quite good.
Now, so this opening scene for me, I kind of thought if they nail this, they'll probably nail the whole thing. And I thought pretty much I would get my level of where I'm going to like this film from the opening bit with Georgie and Pennywise, and it pretty much did. I pretty much pegged it exactly how I was going to like it from there. So I thought the whole thing, from him building the boat up to him meeting Pennywise, I thought they did a superb job. It looked great. It looked so loyal to the book and everything, which isn't vital, but it's a good thing because the book's dead good. And they do such a tremendous job of building that tension, and the introduction to Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise is great. He was fantastic throughout. He was really creepy. But what I felt like was they did a great job building that tension up, and then they never really paid it off satisfactorily for me, and that rang true throughout the whole film. My problem with it was, I think they were very, very brave to actually try and show the horror on screen. but it just didn't work for me.
Didn't it?
Nah, it didn't. It didn't scare me. Like, I figured you were going to get a bit where Georgie reaches in for the boat and you'll see him go, rah, and lunge at him, and then you'll see, like, maybe a shot from the back of Georgie, but you won't actually see him biting his arm off. But they did. They did a big CGI thing with his big mouth opening up, and I didn't think the CGI looked great, and it took me out of it a little bit. And it was, like, fucking brave to show an infant having his arm bitten off on screen, though.
I thought that was fantastic. I was completely blown out of the way.
You don't fucking see that every day, let me tell you. I'll say here and now as well, that kid who played Georgie, he's only 8 years old. He is absolutely amazing. For a fucking 8-year-old actor, he's like, there's some scenes later on, he's fantastic. I would say this up front as well, I'll say this right now, I thought the whole cast top to bottom was superb. Especially the kids. The kids were amazing.
A great cast.
Unbelievable cast. The kid who played Richie, oh boy.
I hate him. Not the kid, but, you know, the Richie. But,
the character?
Yeah,
oh, dude, no! Go on, then. Let's plow ahead.
I thought when we see Pennywise biting Georgie's arm off, I was quite pleased with that. Because I never expected a film, despite it being, what was it? It's for 16 years and up here.
Years 15,
I never
15
expect
over here.
them to actually show a little boy
No, me neither.
already with a missing limb and the gore and the blood. And I sound like Jerry Lewis' character, but...
No, like I say, I said this to the missus and she agreed last night when we were coming out the cinema. Like, I tip my cap to them for trying it. It's fucking ballsy because not many filmmakers would have tried that. But it just didn't try. It just didn't work for me. Like, they tried and I commend them, but it didn't work for me personally. It just didn't do it.
Then we just go to the school and the kids are having their lives and they're being bullied, and that all felt very... I don't want to call it cliched, but it felt very archetypical to me. And I don't know if this is a testament to Stephen King. Maybe he was like one of the first people to portray this in such a manner. But here on film, it felt to me, it could have been done a bit better. Maybe a little bit more believable.
I liked it. It was alright.
It was alright, but it never... That didn't make me connect with the kids immediately. I'm just being pedantic about this part because this disappointed me a little bit. I'm like, oh, well, this is like every other movie ever.
Yeah, I get. I mean, because the original book is set in the 50s, but for the film they've updated it to the 80s, so it just makes it. If it had been set in the 50s, it maybe would have felt different, but it does just feel like, it's the Breakfast Club. My mate who raved about it, he saw the midnight screening. He said it reminded him sort of like Stand By Me's goofy cousin at times. It had that feel of like the 80s teen movie to it.
Yeah, I can see that. And I understand why they changed the time period, because they want to make the next movie, if there's going to be a next movie, like present day. Yeah. So it's going to be like now instead of the 80s, which was the present day when it took place then. Yes.
I guess we can drop the ifs and buts as well. Like, they're going to make a sequel. Because, I mean, have you heard that this has broke records for opening day takings?
Oh, definitely. It's definitely going to have a sequel.
Millions in the opening day, so they're definitely going to make a sequel.
I am quite happy with that.
I don't get me wrong, like, I'll definitely see the sequel. I got mixed feelings about this movie. I got mixed feelings about it, but I'd like to see a sequel.
Good. Right, so the kids, I like the actors. I like all of them. I just don't feel like we got to explore Mike and Stanley much.
Yeah, Stan, I can't even remember him from the book, really. Mike, though, I was saying this yesterday, my initial thoughts were that it's a shame that they cut so much of Mike's story, because Mike's story is one of the most interesting in the book. It's very deep stuff about sort of racial segregation and kind of prejudice and things like that, and it's a shame that they cut it just because it's interesting. But wouldn't it be great and timely if there was a major Hollywood film that had an opportunity to do a commentary on the horrors of prejudice and intolerance in 2017? And they had the opportunity to do it, and they didn't fucking take it. Like, especially a Stephen King movie as well, Mr. like liberal left winger. they had the opportunity to make that commentary on the true horrors of racism, and they didn't do it.
It did feel like they were going for that vibe, but like I said, because we didn't spend as much time with him,
Yeah.
The entire thing with the sheep is like either you end up here, holding the gun, or you're the one getting the bullet. I get that's the same kind of idea they were going for, but it's not explored at all.
No, Mike felt tacked on. He felt like he was only there to provide that bolt gun. Really, that's his only purpose.
Yeah.
And this is a symptom of the movie, though. Like, it's a big ass book, Stephen King's it, and condensing that down into a 2-hour movie, you're gonna have to cut some stuff. And I think this is probably why you didn't appreciate the school stuff much, is because I think the first sort of 2/3 of that film, very nippy. It's really flicking along at quite a pace, because it's got to hit all these story beats. And it has to give you like a quick overview of each character. You don't ever get like a really good feel for any of them because you don't have the time. If they were going to develop all those characters and flesh them all out, you'd be looking at a 4-hour movie. So it's just a symptom of, it's the nature of the beast, I guess. And as a result of that, particularly Mike and Stan, they get cut. And I mean even Richie as well. Like Richie, you get this thing of him being the clown, but if you'll pardon the use of that word in this context. But you don't actually get much of him as a character. You just get that he's the Joker of the group. He's kind of an asshole, but we never learn anything about his life or anything like that. Really, the only ones we get are Beverly, Eddie, and Bill. Obviously, they're the only 3 that we really get to spend any length of time with.
Right. So Richie, I just rolled my eyes at most things he said. It was like, is it probably because of the age? But I don't know.
Maybe.
Just every fucking word, every joke coming out of his mouth was sexual innuendo.
Yes.
Like Quagmire, but not funny.
No, but I think that's a cracking representation of an adolescent boy. I think adolescent boys are like that. And I've got to say, like, I like the character of Richie anyway from the book, and I think updating Stephen King's dialogue is often quite clunky, and this felt organic, and it felt like this is how a young boy would talk. It felt like this is how teenage boys like have banter and like, oh, you know what I mean, lads, way. And I've got to say, in the cinema, fucking played really well. Proper big laughs for Richie, all like consistently throughout as well. Big laughs.
Yeah, I did notice that was a lot of laughs. So. It might just be me.
You watched the... You probably know this already, but you watched the original tonight, yes?
Yes, I did.
Did you spot who played Richie in that? Child Richie?
Seth Green.
Seth Green, hey.
He was the tallest of the kids.
Was he really? Interesting. And the only one that went on to do anything else.
As well, yes. Bill, Beverly, and Ben are all great. I love them.
Oh, Ben, shit, yeah, sorry. I forgot about Ben.
They're all great. They're all lovely, and especially Beverly, that actress. I don't know her name, but she's gonna, if she's gonna continue being an actress, she's gonna grow up being gorgeous, and she's gonna fucking slay everything. Because she was just so naturally charming and funny, and at times I don't know if it was the movie being skeezy or just the way the boys looked at her, and that was why the movie looked at it did. But it felt like it was objectifying her quite a bit.
It's just dealing with these themes of, there are coming of boys and coming of age, and they're only sort of 13, 14. So it's like any time you see a girl, like she's walking around like a little cotton panties and shit at one point, like they're going to be looking like you would if you were that age. But I don't know. I don't know if it was just me, but you sort of feel sort of a bit paternal towards her as you're watching it. You're a bit like, oh, she's a great gal.
Yeah, definitely. But like when she was standing in front of the tampons in those denim shorts, I'm like, is that shot really necessary from that angle?
I think it is because it's the themes that you're dealing with. Like obviously all the stuff with her dad. Like I think it has to set Beverly up as that sort of, she's the innocent young girl. And I think you have to have those feelings of like, oh, this is a bit weird, so that then whenever anything sort of negative and sexual comes up with her, you get the correct response, which is obviously just disgust.
Immediately happens afterwards with the drugstore owner.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mr. Keane. What a creep.
Wow. By the way, every adult in this movie is either useless, worthless, or abusive.
again, theme of the story. Like in the book, there's several arch words. Stephen King's a big fan of using arch words all the way through his books, and so one of the sentences that gets repeated throughout the book is "the adults are useless."
Wasn't that in the trailer as well?
It might have been in one of the trailers, yeah. But yeah, it's very much one of the themes of the movie. Like that's the point. That's the takeaway you're meant to be getting is, oh yeah, the adults are either going to be outwardly like horrible or completely useless, and the kids are very much on their own in this sort of unforgiving world.
Well, that was definitely done very well in this film then, because absolutely none of them were appealing.
I would say that is a positive of the. If that's the takeaway you're getting, I would call it a positive because that's one of the key themes of this story.
Well, then they've done it well. It wasn't a slight towards the film. It was just an observation.
Yeah.
The bullies as well. The bullies seem very like if it was in the 50s, they'd all be wearing leather jackets and have their hair sleek back.
Yeah, I did like that they were proper 80s stereotypes. You know, he's got the Anthrax jersey on, the fucking mullet and all that stuff. I liked it a lot. But again, they end up feeling stock because you don't get any character development. Because they're supporting cast and the movie has to nip along and be quick. You just get, oh yeah, they're just the bullies.
That's all they really are. The only, was it Henry, the main one? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Henry Bowser's. He gets a little bit when you find out his dad is an abusive cunt.
Yeah.
Because, well, obviously, adult, this film. But the rest of them, like, one dies, one vanishes, and the other two then
just aren't
fall away completely.
Yeah, they're just not in it anymore, yeah.
They're there when he gets the knife in the post, but then they're just gone.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
They've served their purpose as stock bullies at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe you could have cut them at that point then?
Yeah, again, like, nature of the beast, you know. In a movie that has to cram a lot into 2 hours, certain characters are going to be collateral damage, and I think they definitely were.
I do get that.
A classic example.
It still just bothers me a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a negative, but I had bigger problems with this film than that, though.
I was quite surprised at how quick it started harassing the children with horror attacks. I mean, it does it in the 90s film as well, but here it's like outright decapitated bodies walking around, leprosy, people with leprosy. Fucking hell, that was cool.
Yeah, again, like it has to cram these in because it has to get across like these are the individual fears of the kids. So I think it has to be like bam, 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 bam. Like it's getting it across. It's victimizing them all individually, and then they've all got to come together as a result. So it's this is what I mean. I think this was a problem with it was that the pace in the first hour was so fucking. It's like here's this story beat, remember this bit, and it was it's throwing a lot at you, and a lot of it is, as you say, quite full on, quite graphic stuff. And again, some of that didn't land. Some of that didn't land for me. So Stan's particular haunt of the creepy painting of the woman.
Yeah.
The CGI on that, it just didn't do it. Like it took me right out of it. It took me right out of the movie because it didn't look good. It just didn't look good to me. I didn't enjoy it.
Okay, that's the least intimidating out of the stuff he's done. The clown, yeah. Because why is Stan afraid of the painting of the woman?
Again, because we don't get Stan's we just don't get that backstory. We don't get that time.
We don't get his POV
to flesh it out, So it's just you see him come in and give it that look, and then he's scared of it, and you've got to take it at that. But no, I mean
it did feature a very nice little bit of camera work when it's at a slight Dutch angle, and then the camera starts going straight because he's hanging the painting straight.
Yeah, it did.
I quite like that shot.
Yeah, that was a good shot. I've seen a few people. I can't ever appreciate this because I'm a fucking pro, but I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying, "Oh, the cinematography was fantastic." I'm like, it probably was. Like, it was a beautifully shot movie. Like, everything was
very well
framed fantastically. But I think that was again so we got the CGI early on with Georgie, and then again with the various haunts of the various kids. It was all very creepy. And I liked the setup, but then it did just boil down always to boo, big jump scares, and for me the only time it ever really made me jump out of my seat it was a jump scare, and it's a cardinal sin of any film to rely heavily on jump scares, and this movie really lives and dies by them.
Yes.
I think. That said, I did like the particular one with Ben, where he's got the decapitated Easter egg hunt corpse thing, and because I just liked the what is it fucking. What is it he says to him when like he suddenly like flips back into Pennywise? He had something about like "Hey, egg boy" or something like that. That was good. That was a cool little, again, a jump scare, but it was just a cool little moment because you get that little nugget of Pennywise's character coming out. Because Pennywise is a very interesting character, and when you get that little "Hey, egg boy," like his little fucking jibes and shit, I love all that. Bill Skarsgård was real good. Yeah, I've said that already, but he was really, really good in this film. Really,
yeah, he was definitely the best thing about the film. Saying the best thing about, he was a very good part about the film.
Yes, he was.
He was suitably creepy, and you know that stuff they do with the eyes, where his eyes go slightly apart.
Oh, you already know. I wanted to tell you this. I wanted to drop this nugget in. No,
too bad.
You go then. You go.
I'll share this with everybody who's listening who doesn't know. Now, see, the director wanted Pennywise to look really creepy and inhuman, so he started to develop an idea where they would CGI Pennywise's eyes to look in different directions. So Bill Skarsgård heard this and said, well, I can actually do that myself. Bill Skarsgård has the natural ability to have both his eyes stare in different directions, saving the production of this film several millions of dollars in CGI mock-up work.
Oh, what a creepy bastard.
This is great.
Oh man, I love it. But that is when I read that this morning actually, and I
read this afternoon.
I laughed my head off. So funny. What a creepy dude.
Oh, great. But yeah, I did like the fact he was haunting the kids with the apparitions, so to say. And I like the fact that they were trying to figure out what happened to Georgie's body, and that they weren't just, going through a series of events. Because compared to the 90s version, that's exactly what happens to them. They just get things happen to them, and then stuff ends. And here they actively have agency, and they try to do something about it, like in a proper coming of age thing.
Yeah, well, again, very much like Stand By Me. They're going around looking for a body. Like, yeah,
exactly. So
it's a good. You get across that dynamic that Bill is very much the leader. Bill's very much the one driving it because he's always, we're going here, we're going there, like we're doing it to try and fight. Like he's the one who's in charge, and you get that across.
Yeah, so basically you got the leader, the fat one, the funny one, the girl one, the black one, the Jew, and the hypochondriac, neurotic. That's very cliche for a seven-man group, to be honest. I'm not. Oh yeah. Oh, that shit with Beverly in the sink. Shit, yeah. Man, that makes me want to have a new Nightmare on Elm Street film.
Oh yeah,
because that was so creepy. That was so well done. I loved it to bits.
Yeah, I was a big fan of that as well. Because that was like it's a big key scene in the book, that, and I was like, how is this going to look on screen if they choose to do it? It looked amazing. It looked fantastic. I actually thought it looked better. Like the blood coming out of the sink and everything looked great. It looked better when it was done. Like when she's laid there all covered in blood, and her dad comes in, and it's all like playing around on her face and stuff. That really, I was like, oh, this is pretty gross. Like it looked awful, which in this context means it looked great.
It did, but it was like only too bad. It was followed by her showing it to the Losers Club, and them going like, "Oh well, better have a best friends montage where we clean everything up."
Oh man, what the Tell me, what was The Cure doing in this soundtrack?
I don't know.
Big fan of The Cure, but fuck man, like this did not. It just broke the tone completely. Like, what the hell were they thinking?
I didn't like that montage either.
It was awful. It was really, really bad. Like, criminal, unforgivable. That's a big black mark against this movie for me.
That's probably, in my opinion, the film's weakest point.
Oh, undoubtedly.
I do like the fact that they go with the slide projector right afterwards. And they put this bit in the trailer, so you're thinking, oh, I know exactly what's coming. I know exactly why this is going to be scary. And it follows that beat exactly. But then it's like, oh, hang on. here's a little bit at the end we haven't shown you yet.
Yeah.
And I like that. That was very good that
I-
they put that in the trailer so the audience is not expecting it, and then they fuck them over. Like, I'll admit, I was never actually terrified in that film, but that was a great, oh fucking shit moment.
I've got to say, that was the moment where, jump scares aside, I felt the most sort of scared. Like you, I was never terrified, but that was the moment where I was like, oh fuck, like, that really got me going. Tense moment. And that was one of the moments where the CGI looked good, too. I don't think the big giant clown coming out of the projector looked bad. It looked really, really good, really scary.
It looked like a big giant clown.
It did look like a big giant clown. But that whole sequence was fantastic. The whole fucking the projector moving on its own, all that shit. Oh man, built the tension. That was the one moment in the movie where they built the tension and then paid it off successfully. Because every other time, every other jump scare bit, I feel like they built the tension, and when it came for the payoff, it just left me a bit like, oh, it wasn't quite scary enough. But that was the one moment where I was like, oh no, this is genuinely very scary, and I feel peril. That was the word I was searching for earlier. Peril.
It's a good word. Right, so I didn't know how long this film was, so when immediately afterwards they go to the house above the well house, or the...
Yes, yeah.
At, what's it called, Neiman Street?
On Neibolt Street, yeah.
Neibolt
Again,
Street.
And this was one of the little things that this movie did a few times, where... So it does this big lingering shot on the Neibolt Street sign, right?
Right.
And it seemed to be like very kind of, oh, look, it's Neibolt Street, foreboding, right? And I was like, well, I know what that means, because I've read the book, so I know what happens now. But if you're coming in cold and you've never read the book, then you're going to be going, and? Like, why are you showing me that? Who cares?
I completely didn't know what it meant at first, but afterwards you get to piece that together, because you can see it coming past once, and then you see it coming past when they start focusing on the house, and then it comes again, and then suddenly it's like, oh shit, that's where the thing has been all this time.
Yeah. But it was one of those things where, like, I wasn't sure if... It does it a couple times, and I was never sure if it was trying and failing to set something up, or if it was just doing little nods to, like, well, if you're in the know, you're going to appreciate this. And, like, the thing with Bill's little mantra, he thrusts his fists against the post and still insists he sees the ghost.
Right.
He says that in one scene, and then Pennywise says it in the final scene. And I didn't know if that was just like, oh well, if you've read the book and everything, then you know what this is all about. But I wasn't sure if they were trying to actually make it a thing in the film and not getting it across.
I didn't quite get. I know it's a mantra for Bill to say so he gets rid of his stuttering, but I don't know what purpose is served otherwise. Especially seeing as Pennywise repeated it towards the end.
Yeah. So, like, did you think, well, what's that about? Did you like kind of think, well, why has he said that?
Well, if I think about it now, it's like, oh, Pennywise is a ghost and he can't really die, so what they've done is futile. That's what it seems like. But when I heard him say it the first time, I'm like, he's just repeating something that Bill said earlier, so why?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it did it a couple of times, things like that. And the Neibolt Street lingering.
Well, that one worked for me.
Yeah, because they build that one up later. And then this film, for me, it does some things brilliantly. It does other things less well, and some things it does really, really badly. But it did do some Easter eggs that were done really well. Like, for example, so in the Stephen King verse, the turtle is a big thing, and in the book, the turtle is this ethereal being that the earth is basically held up by, right?
Turtle's all the way down.
Turtle's all the way down. Yeah, it's what's the rhyme? See the turtle of enormous girth, upon its back it holds the earth, right?
Right.
And it carries the earth, a bit Discworldy, yeah?
Yes.
And the turtle assists the kids in their battle against Pennywise. It, like, gives them this ethereal power in order to battle Pennywise, or it, because they're mortal enemies, they're eternal enemies, the turtle and it. And in Georgie's room, when Bill's being all mournful, he picks up Georgie's little Lego toy, and it's a fucking turtle. And, like, if you're not in the know, you just go, oh yeah, he's looking at the Georgie's toy, because he's sad about Georgie. But if you're in the know, it's like, oh, he's looking at Georgie's toy and he's sad, but also, that's a turtle. I get that reference. It's a good little Easter egg. And it did have little moments like that where it did pepper them in, and it was like, oh, that's nice. I appreciate that Easter egg. But then there was the stuff with, like, he thrust his fist against the post. It just felt tacked on. It just felt like, oh, well, they've just put that in because they felt like they had to, and it hasn't really worked.
But why was that in there, then?
What, he thrust his fist against the post?
Yes.
Don't know, because in the book it's like a central thing. It's what each kid kind of has their own, so they've got their own fear, yeah, which he preys upon, but they've also got like their own defense mechanism. And Bill's is his little mantra thing, and his bike as well. And he uses his little mantra, and it's this fucking, again, Stephen King archwords, and he does it all the way throughout. He keeps using, he thrusts his fist against the post. All this, it's like his little mental mantra that he keeps using. But in the movie, it felt forced. It felt like they crowbarred it in, and it didn't work. And I was like, oh, why did they do it at all then? You'd be better off leaving it out, really. Don't know. Nitpicky.
No,
but...
that's an excellent point. If you hadn't said it at the end, it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, no, like, I don't know why Pennywise said it. I don't know why he said it at the end of the movie. It didn't make sense. But whatever.
Weird. But
Not
anyway,
important.
I didn't know how long this film was, so when they end up in Newbolt Street, I thought that was the climax. I thought they'd replaced the downstairs with the sewers with inside of a scary house. I'm like, okay.
Really? You thought this was the end?
Oh yeah, I definitely was.
Wow.
I was gearing up towards the end here. So I thought,
halfway.
I didn't know how long this film was.
Okay, all right. Okay.
But it really, that was great and tenseful. I like the fact that only 3 of them dared to go in. And this is the first time in the film that I started, feeling protective about Richie as well, because before that, it was just all...
Because he's only the comic relief, and then we finally get some story hooks for him.
And finally he gets, there's a missing poster of me. Why is there a missing poster of me? That's great stuff. I love that. I also love the fact that he was the one afraid of clowns.
Yes.
And might be the reason why Pennywise is currently mostly appearing as a clown towards them.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's not, because he always be. That's it. For some reason, that is just his preferred form. Obviously, the movie never addresses it, but like in the book, it's like, oh yeah, he just, for some reason, he thinks it's funny to be a clown. Because like, there's all these shots of like, well, I mean, you do see it in the movie, don't you? Like when they're looking at the old Derry stuff, you do see the very old sort of photographs and drawings, and he's there in the background in clown form.
Yeah.
He just appears as a clown. Don't know why, but yeah, it's good. Did you spot the Easter egg in that scene then?
Yes.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Why do you know all the trivia?
Because I'll pay attention.
You've been on the IMDb page today, like
no,
me, haven't you? I have.
I saw it in the film.
I didn't notice it in the film. I have to confess, I didn't notice it.
It's very quick, but I saw it. It's when Richie is in the room with all the clown dolls, and he managed to find his own puppet carcass, and it jumps out. Pennywise jumps out of the coffin, and very briefly you can see the old Pennywise costume in the corner there on one of the clowns, and I was like, hey, not 2 Pennywises. That's great.
Smashing. I can't do Tim Curry's voice. I tried. I can't do it.
No, but I really did like that, and when Pennywise was basically slobbering all over Eddie, that was good.
Yeah, alright, yeah, so actually I said earlier that like it was the only scene where he came out of the projector that got me, but no, I liked that scene with Eddie, that again, peril, and that really did. And again, this is the thing, like this movie proves in those 2 scenes that they clearly can do scary without jump scares.
Mate, the bit where he comes out of the refrigerator as a fucking contortionist.
That was good. I
mean, some bits are like very in this film, obviously CGI, and this was as well. But it still worked for me. It just looked so inhuman and popping his limbs back in crackling bits.
That did look really good.
Oh, that was good.
What I'll say this now. I don't know. I've had this line ready, and I don't know when there's going to be an appropriate time to say it, so I will drop it in here. I feel like this film is at its best when Pennywise isn't on screen, and I think that is quite damning of it in a lot of ways. However, that scene with Eddie in the Newbolt Street house is very much one of the few times where it really, really works. it really, really is like, oh my god, no, this is really, really scary.
It's probably because this film is all about building up towards Pennywise. Like, there's creepy goings on, and then it's like the bam, here's the clown.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It does a great job throughout of building up the tension and building up why you should be scared of the clown. But then when the clown appears, it almost always amounts to just a big boo, and then nothing else, or nothing of consequence. Another thing as well, since I'm bad-mouthing the CGI on Pennywise, you know when he fucking... Why does he move like that?
Move like what?
You know when he lunges at the kids, he does like the weird head shaking, like what the hell, like that didn't work. It didn't work. It's not it would have been scarier if he just lunged at him. It didn't work.
That didn't really work for me.
No, it didn't work. And this is what I mean. There's a lot of this where it's like little things where it's just like, I can see what you're going for, but it didn't do it. It didn't do it for me.
No, that didn't work for me either.
No. But what we were saying was the thing in Kneeball Street with Eddie where he's like all on him. That did work. That worked great.
Oh, and the three doors, scary, very scary, and not scary at all. I'm like, this is obviously a trap. You go through the scary door, and that will not be scary at all. But no, they choose not scary, and they get absolutely terrified.
And they did it in the best possible way, though. They did it as like two young boys, and they look at each other, and they go, well, we'll go for that, and they both rush straight to it. And then like, oh fuck!
I expected them to go into opposite directions. Like,
I loved it. I loved that they were both
scary.
like, oh, this way. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
And then Beverly comes in and she fucking stabs it in the fucking skull with a gate spike.
Fucking, yeah, it was a
Fence
spike. Fence, what the fuck, yeah.
So that made me think like, oh shit, was this it? Is this, was this Pennywise? Is this going to be like, okay, we've beaten it back for now, but it's going to be coming back in 27 years? Because it then slinks away, hurt, and that shot where he draws back into the well, that's good. It's just the way he looked at the camera there. No, don't agree?
Oh no, it was good. I'm sorry, I was laying out just to let you.
I was just enjoying that because that stuff like that works a lot better for me than a loud radio static crackle.
Yeah. No, I get so I mean, this is the thing. This is symptomatic, I think, of the problems of the film. Like I said, I really enjoyed the bit where it was just him and Eddie, and he was doing like the bleh, and again where you get this little lingering look at the camera. If they'd just let Bill Skarsgård play the role and laid out with the CGI and gimmicks a little bit, I think it would have been a lot better. Because I think he looks creepy as fuck and he acts creepy as fuck.
He does.
And if they'd laid out and not done as much CGI gimmicky bullshit with it, I think it would have been a lot scarier and a lot creepier.
Right, so then the movie skips along a couple of months at a time where the kids have arguments and they don't get along, and Beverly's dad flirts with her and tries to fuck her. Because adults in this film.
I've got to say, one of the things in the book that really gets across is Beverly's dad is... There's only like 2 or 3 scenes that really explicitly go into it. Properly, like one of the creepiest, worst things about the whole. But this is a book about child murder and stuff. And Beverly's dad is like one of the. There's always this underlying threat, and it's proper like, oh, don't like it really. And
so they did a great job with that.
And the film fucking nailed it. And again, like they didn't get a lot of time with it. He's only in 3 scenes, maybe.
Oh, it's 5 minutes at most. Like
they didn't get a lot of time to flesh it out, but they really got that across. There's always, every time Beverly and her dad are on screen together at the same time, there's just this kind of Begbie-esque undertone.
Tension,
it's the only adjective I can think of. Begbie-esque, like it could go off at any minute.
For people that are not in the know, Begbie from Trainspotting. No, I'm just enlightening the listeners.
Oh, the listener knows. The listener knows that.
Oh, well, he obviously does, because if they're subscribed to this channel, they know I like Trainspotting a lot. I do.
Indeed.
I really do like Trainspotting. I thought that was absolutely horrifying with Beverly's dad, and then it grabs her. And I felt that was a bit... it's like, why did it have to be the girl, but fine.
I know. I I know why it had to be the girl though, because they have to find a reason in the movie to have them come back together and go to the sewers, and obviously the damsel in distress is.
It could have been any of the losers though.
Classic.
It could have been Stanley.
It could have been, but Bevy's kind of the most pure and kind of, the boys have got to go and rescue. And again, coming of age, they've got to all be, we're going to go and be men and rescue the woman.
They do make a point of it that she's unsullied. Let's put it that way.
Yes, they do. But this, I think, is a kind of marrying of two storylines from the book. So in the climax of the adult portion of the book, anyway, that sounds wrong. The adult portion of the book, it's Bill's wife who is taken by Pennywise, and they have to go and rescue her, and he makes her look into the dead lights, and she goes catatonic, and then obviously that happens with Bev in this. I think it was just so they sort of married the two storylines into one there, and kind of made a composite thing. It felt like to me anyway that they were just borrowing from the book at that point and going, oh well, we'll use that as a device. It works.
I don't think they called the deadlights by name in this film.
No, they don't. Although I wasn't sure they were going to show the deadlights on screen, and they did, and they did a cracking job.
Yeah, that was proper well. I didn't like the bit where Pennywise showed up dancing like a madman, because they kept cutting away from him.
Yeah.
I think I would have liked that scene better if they've just kept the shot on him at all times, where his head would not move, and then the rest of his body was dancing like a madman.
Yeah.
That worked for me, but it was like, back to Beverly, back to Pennywise, back to Beverly, back to Pennywise.
Yeah, and this was one of the so there was moments in the movie, in the cinema, people laughed at things that weren't meant to be funny, and this was definitely one of them.
Yeah, I noticed that when you said that to Gail Simone, you were like, oh, people were laughing. I'm like, oh, that's not a positive comment.
Mainly, people were laughing at the, like the scary, shaky head, lunge at people. People in the cinema found that fucking hilarious. And, I didn't find it funny, and I found the laughter quite annoying. But I was like, take the movie seriously in the bits that are meant to be serious, but then you can laugh at Richie's bits. But,
oh, you wouldn't have enjoyed me here. I must say, Pennywise's little tower of whatever the fuck that was, with the floating corpses around it, and suddenly I'm like, holy crap, they all do float down here.
Yeah, they did that.
That was like, oh my god, I don't remember that. It's not in the 1990s version, obviously not.
I don't remember.
This now makes perfect sense why he always keeps saying that. I'm like, fine, very good, thank you, film. That was good, thank you.
I don't remember if it's in the book either, but they did it well. And yeah, his little tower and his little lair full of all the shit that he's collected over the years. That would, of all the prams and stuff. Sorry, baby strollers that he's stolen. And things like that, people he's attacked and dragged all them in their shit down, brilliantly done.
And I like the bit where it's you can basically see him Kaiser associating himself with the stuff that's lying around. There's literally old circus material saying Pennywise the Dancing Clown. It's
yes.
Oh, well, that's why he's calling himself Pennywise the Dancing Clown, because that way the kids will like him.
Yeah. Oh, did you notice Georgie's wallpaper in his room, by the way, random aside?
No.
Oh, it's all big tops and elephants and things like that.
Oh, so he must have liked the circus.
And hence why he does all that. Hey, Georgie, you like cotton candy and all that bullshit? All that.
His voice was proper creepy.
It was so
Hello,
good.
Georgie.
It was so good. Because it had the exact right blend of he's quite funny, but...
He's trying to be friendly, but he still can't completely come across as human.
Yeah, because it was so over the top, and it was kind of funny.
But it was still subdued. It wasn't like chewing the scenery left and right, going like Tim Curry would sometimes do.
Oh, did you, so as I said, I was reading the IMDb trivia today. Did you hear who it came down to? The casting choice in the end.
No.
It came down to your man Skarsgård and Hugo Weaving.
Wow.
I know, right? And I can only assume at this point that they were going, can we just find the creepiest looking dudes in Hollywood, please? And so it's presumably Steve Buscemi was third in the running,
and Paul Giamatti number 4.
Yeah, so they got so Will Poulter was in originally to do it, and he's a weird looking fella. But yeah, so we came down to Hugo Weaving and Bill Skarsgård, and the reason that Skarsgård got the nod is because they didn't fit, like, they auditioned for it and stuff. They didn't feel that Weaving could do childish or playful emotions at all. He could only do creepy. And then they were like, oh, but he can do like the weird, playful, childish bullshit. Skarsgård can.
That's good because...
So they gave it to him. And, he does have that. He does have like a... There is something kind of likeable about him.
Like, he's the only adult in the film that does show an interest in the kids in a way.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I do.
Even though he's planning to eat them, it's like he knows the interests, he knows what they like, he knows what they don't like.
Have you read sort of... I've been reading interviews with him. Have you seen any of the stuff like where he's talked about the comparisons between him and Heath Ledger?
Wow, that's actually a very good one.
And because people have brought it up, and he's been talking about it, and he was like, well, the difference is that, like, he was playing a human still. And, like, so he's still, he's got this charisma about him. And it's like, well, yeah, because Bill Skarsgård said the challenge for him was he had to go one further and be like, I have to try and get into a mindset where I don't even value any human life at all. I'm not a psychopath or a sociopath. I'm not even human. And I've got to go one further. And, like... And I do think he managed to play this thing off where it's like he was quite funny and quite charismatic in scenes and yet was still in nowhere likeable.
Exactly.
At no point was that... He didn't go full Freddy Krueger with this, where it's like at a certain point you're just rooting for Freddy because he's hilarious and he's the best character in the film. It was like, no, I don't want the clown to win. The clown is interesting, but I hate the clown still. The clown is awful. And I think he nailed it. He had this charisma, but it wasn't
at no point
likeable.
Exactly. At no point did I want the clown to win.
No,
so the kids are all now after Beverly in the well. What's his name again? I forgot it again. Bowser's.
Henry Bowers.
Henry Bowser's.
Bowser comes down and tries to kidnap the princess, as he does.
Yeah. I thought, okay, he was absolutely the office rocker, but I don't feel like he added anything to it aside from a little tension beforehand.
Yeah, it was needless. Again, like in the book, it comes back into a big plot point where he becomes like Pennywise's full-on henchman eventually. But in this, it just felt like
the Ren feud.
He just didn't need to be there, really. He provides, as you said, he provides a minor distraction. Like the only thing of consequence that happens, Mike knocks him down the well, kills him, and then Mike drops the bolt gun ammo down the well.
Yeah, so they only have the one.
But he could have done that without. But he could have done that without Henry being there, though. They could have just done that anyway. Like what? It didn't deserve a point. It was point. It was kind of pointless. Like it was. It was something. It wasn't.
It
bad,
did make me go like, oh, hey, shit! I wonder how this is gonna get resolved. And then Mike just goes,
That was an amazing goofy scream noise thing. Oh wow!
The official definition is a goofy holler.
Goofy holler. That's
As I was saying, the kids are downstairs in the sewer. They're getting separated because that's always what happens in these cases. And I did like when Pennywise attacked Stanley.
I liked when they happened upon him attacking Stanley.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. He's got his face all locked around his face and like...
I was surprised he managed to survive that.
Yeah, me too.
I expected him to have no face at that point. Try to subvert the expectation of the book reading audience at that point. Like,
well, see,
one of the kids
the
dies.
thing is, as the book reading audience...
Yeah, we know.
Not being sure of the sequel, like, I didn't know if there was going to be a sequel or not, for sure. Knowing what happens at the end of the book, no spoilers, I didn't know for a definite that he wasn't going to be dead. So it's not as if my reading the book he'd be fine. It was like, oh, maybe this is how they're going to... I don't know, maybe. Because I'm not saying that Stan gets killed. I'm just saying that not all of them make it to the end of that book.
Yeah, so I was expecting him to die at that point. So
I half was, yeah.
They confront Pennywise, and then we get Ben kissing her. And I felt quite sweet about that. Like, oh, hey, Ben gets the girl because he recites the poem, and she recites the poem at him then.
And True Love's first kiss, and...
something like that. It's like the power of love. Like,
yeah,
whatever.
Absolutely. Like what overcomes the deadlights.
Pennywise trying to use all the fear he has of the kids against them, and he's like cycling through it as rapidly as he can. And I felt great at this point. Like you said, he was like being proper Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, no, the climactic fight.
I never knew he was that Freddy Krueger. So when he's like going from kid to kid, and it's like he has to pay attention to each and every one of them, but he can only really scare one of them at a time
because he can only appear.
Like one proper fear to one of them at a time, and they're trying to overcome their fear. This is all very good, and I really like the bit where he grabs Bill, and then Richie starts going like, I fucking hate you. I told you we shouldn't do this. We should have just had a summer, and we would have gone away, and we would have had a great time, and now I'm stuck in a sewer, grabs a baseball bat, and I have to kill this fucking clown.
And now Richie's your boy.
Richie, at that point, Richie was my boy.
See?
I'm like, I was expecting them to go like, see ya, at least some of them, except...
So you didn't... so just throw on, but you didn't even like Derry started as a beaver trapping camp. It still is, am I right, guys? You didn't even like that.
That one was hilarious.
And it's especially funny because the other kids, like, just, they don't even look at him. They're just like, no, fucking shut up.
One of them even pulls his hands down when he asks for a high five.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So yeah, the kids, they run a train on him. Like, at one point he starts growing these, dare I say, spider-like appendages.
I did like that nod to his quote-unquote true form, that he flicks the spider appendages out, and it's like, wait, now, and I was going, now is he going to go full spider?
There's a lot of people that don't like that.
Does he do that in the 90s one? Does he go full spider?
Not as a kid. Not as a kid. Only as an adult.
Oh, so he does go full spider at the end, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, see, so that's what I really appreciated about this was that, as far as I can recall, in the book, they don't see him as the spider. And I liked that they just throw this out there. I was like, he's got spider arms. That's a bit weird. And it's like, chapter what? Wait for chapter 2. You'll see why he had spider arms. Like, I like that. That was it was quite subtle. And it was like, because if you're not in the know, if you've not seen the miniseries, if you've not read the book, if you're just cinema-going audience, seeing this for the first time, you're like, well, maybe he's just trying to do any random fear at this point. A big fucking clown with spider arms, yeah, that's scary, fuck it. Like, maybe he's just doing any old shit. So, it works. It's great. That beautiful. That
really works for me.
That whole scene was brilliantly shot as well. Like, the way it I don't know, it's not one continuous shot, is it? I don't think, but it felt like it. Like, it felt like a proper action sequence where one kid lands a blow on him and he transforms into something else, and then he comes in again. Like, it was shot, but it flowed fantastically because that had the scope to be very confusing. Yeah, like, you get the feel of you can tell what each fear is meant to be, and you can tell who it's directed at, etc., etc. Let's cut through all the chaff and let's get down to brass tacks. We get to Bill's fear being Georgie coming back, and we glossed over this earlier, but
we haven't discussed it yet because I wanted to bring it back to this.
No, but I mean way back. The original thing you mean. I thought, and my girlfriend thought, the best scene, the scariest, creepiest scene in the whole film is where Georgie appears to Bill in the basement, the flooded basement.
Right, yeah.
And he's all stood in the corner doing this creepy, weird smile. And it is very, very unnerving. And for, again, as I say, the kid who plays that role is only 8 years old. He is absolutely incredible. That bit, you'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too.
And then he starts becoming all zombie-like.
Doing this smile. This weird, like... It's a smile, but it's not a smile. And it's... Oh, man, that's properly scary.
I heard quite a few people talking outside the theatre about how terrifying they specifically found that.
Yeah, that was...
Like, several groups of people I walked past, they were talking about that.
For
because
me...
I'm not popular enough to hang around with Norm.
For me, that was the best sort of scary bit of the film. However, what I will say is... That scene encapsulates all the best and worst of this film. I.e., it does an amazing... Like, that bit where he comes... Oh, Bill, you'll float too. All that shit, right? It does all the smile and everything. Proper scary. Properly like, oh, this is weird as fuck. I don't like this. And then the CGI in his face melting off or whatever. It ruins it. It was too much. It took me right out of it. It was this weird, creepy thing that they had, and then they CGI'd in his face, turn it to ash or something, and then Pennywise came out of the water doing his head shaking thing. It ruined it. And for me, that encapsulates the best and worst of this film. It really does. But in the climactic bit,
when George is back again, yes.
Oh my God, that scene was incredible. Those actors must have a combined age of what, 25?
The two kids together are not even 20.
Oh, fucking hell! Like, genuinely brought a lump to my throat.
I was terrified and I was like sad. Like,
yeah.
I was swept away, and it's like I was like, no, don't fall for it.
I know.
Like, no, don't do it, Bill.
I know,
screaming
right?
at the screen as the only person in the audience, and the rest of them are like, and he pulls the gun. You're not Georgie. That was great.
Oh my God,
so well done.
And again, though, like little Georgie, they're all sad and that, but he doesn't appear whole. He's still got the arm missing. It's all a bit like, so many conflicting emotions. Like, I don't like it, but it's so touching. But I know I can't trust it. Oh, brilliantly done. What a scene. What a powerful scene. And those two actors, for an 8-year-old, again, like that 8-year-old actor, he's doing like the whole like, I want to come home, Bill. Like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like,
I legit thought that might have been Georgie at one point. Like, not really, but you're like,
I know.
That could have been Georgie for all.
That was like if not like again, like I got conflicted emotions about this movie, but I think that the highs outweigh the lows, and that is
definitely
that's probably the highest high of this film. Not many filmmakers could have packed that scene with so much gravitas and so many different emotions.
Because they're all kids as well.
I know, right? Again, I keep saying it, but for an 8-year-old kid to put that performance in, where his bottom lip's going and all that shit, like, fucking hell, man. That seemed like the kind of thing where it's like, you know, like when a child has gone missing and they get their infant brother to do an appeal on the news saying, please bring them home. That's the level of emotion that kid was putting out. It was fucking ridiculous, man. I mean, honestly, I almost went in the cinema. I was like, I'm gonna, oh my God.
This is not fair, Phil. I'm going home.
And then he shoots him in the head. I was like, now we're back. All right.
I thought it was quite comedic how Georgie's body turned into Pennywise.
Again, right? This film does a lot of stuff where I think when they wrote it down on paper, great idea. On the screen, didn't translate. So you're going, you've had this big touching scene, and then you're going to have what is ostensibly a dead infant convulsing violently and transforming into a hideous clown, right? On paper, that sounds like a terrifying idea. When they tried to realise that on the screen, it just didn't work at all.
I laughed more than
and again, this was one of the moments where big laughs from the audience in the cinema. And that's not what you want.
I don't think it was what they were going for.
No.
But then they have to fight, and I must say, I reiterate very often, I have attention deficit. I've taken medication for that in the past, but I couldn't really keep pace with it. It's not jumbled, but it's very quick. It doesn't let up. But I did like the fact that Pennywise was cycling through all their fears, going at them one at a time. That was very well done. So I wasn't confused, but I don't really know how to end that train of thought. But when Bill ends with the empty bolt gun against Pennywise's head, and you hear Mike going in the background like, it's not loaded. It's not going to work. And that's when you're like, oh, hang on. But Pennywise is all about belief. Pennywise is all about faith, fear, and belief. So he pulls it.
And so something rankled in my memory at this point where I'm sure in the book they use Eddie's inhaler. In the book, I'm sure they use Eddie's inhaler.
They definitely use Eddie's inhaler, yeah.
Did they do it in the 90s thing as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Why didn't they just do it in this one then?
I think this kind of worked better.
I liked it.
Compared to what I saw from today.
Okay.
Because in the 1990s one, they take a whiff of Eddie's inhaler, all of them, and Richie goes like, oh, this is like battery acid, beep, beep, whatnot. And then,
beep, beep, Richie. Beep, beep.
Yeah, beep, beep. So, at one point, Eddie then just goes to Pennywise. This is battery acid, so because of the belief thing, but they haven't really
Oh, fuck
cemented.
it. Oh, right, that's why. So they didn't establish it at all. Yeah, okay.
So it just, that's like, okay, it's a belief thing, fine. But then...
Yeah, but then, I mean, they don't really establish the thing that why does the bottom work. They don't really do a great job of that, like...
Yeah, but they cement the fact that it's a belief thing way before that.
Yeah, they do, but...
But they removed a bit where Bill doesn't know that the gun doesn't work the one time without a new pressure bolt in it. So by the fact that he thinks it's going to go off, he damages Pennywise.
Because he believes it will work.
So that works to me better than Eddie suddenly grabbing his inhaler going like, this is battery acid! Fuck what?
Okay, alright, you've taught me around on this. That is better. That is better. You taught me around on that one.
I wasn't trying to, but it's my personal opinion.
No, it's worked.
So I really did like the bolt gun better than the inhaler. Because I don't know what it's like in the book, but in the film as well, Beverly then uses a slingshot to shoot a piece of silver at Pennywise, and then that does the cracking of his skin instead.
Okay.
So Pennywise now horribly damaged, about to die, and he runs away and he shatters, or not.
Oh, just sort of decalcifies. I don't know.
It's like there's pieces of his skull and skin still floating in the air while the rest of his body's falling into the pit.
Yeah. And
we then have another time skip where everything is ending happily ever after, and we see all the losers one by one. First we can have a group hug. They become blood brothers, which is very bad in the 1980s, seeing as there's an AIDS epidemic.
Especially since it's referenced earlier in the film.
I know! That's like saying
Right, I don't remember how they deal with this in the book, but like Eddie, of all people, going along with that.
Well, he overcame his hypochondriac.
I would call it Munchausen's by proxy rather than hypochondria, but
yeah, okay, sorry, Munchausen then. But he overcame that by throwing away his fanny pack with pills after he realised they were all gazebos.
Great line.
Gazebos is a great line.
Great line.
So then they do the blood thing. I quite like that. It was quite touching, I suppose, especially with the group hug at the end.
Yeah.
And then one of them going one by one going away, and I'm like, oh yeah, here's going to be Ben walking away last, and it's going to be Bill and Beverly, and Beverly's going to kiss Bill, and it exactly happens that way. I'm like, that didn't work for me. I'm like, I'm not quite sure if that's in the book, but I'm like...
Don't feel bad. When they're adults, Ben and Beverly end up getting together right at the very end of the book.
Oh, spoilers for the next film.
It works out.
Right,
I'm sorry, but if you watch this movie and you don't feel compelled to read the book between now and when the sequel comes out, that's on you, alright?
Yeah. Right, so wrapping up thoughts. I watched the 1990s film today for the first time in years. Like, I think I was in my early teens when I first saw it, and I'm now in my early 30s. So I saw a lot of things. Tim Curry's great. The kids are okay. But the adults are all boring and bland, and there's a lot of scenes which are like, here's a random montage where Mike and Bill are on bicycles for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem doesn't grip me. But this film, I really did like this film. I'm not going to say it's the best horror film ever, but I think it has a huge mass appeal, and it's going to go down as one of the more classic modern horror movie remakes or adaptations. Like, I want to say it's like a 3.5 out of 5 stars for something like that. And it's going to go down well, and I'm happy there's going to be a sequel. It's your turn.
Thank you. I mean, the thing I want to pick up on immediately there, what you said there, is about it going down well and being a horror classic. As I said, when I was a kid and I saw the 90s movie, or a portion of it, it left me with like a crippling fear for the rest of my life. And I'll tell you now, I didn't find this movie scary, so I found the book terrifying. And when I saw how scary the trailers for this were, the trailers gave me bad dreams, right? And I had very, very high hopes for this movie. And I enjoyed the film a lot, but it didn't scare me. But what I will say is, I know if I was a young kid of like 10, 11, 12, maybe, a bit younger, a bit older, and I'd not read the book, I'd not read not seen the miniseries, and I watched this, I know this would be like the horror film of my life. And I think that is going to cement its legacy in cinema as like one of the all-time great horror films. I think top to bottom the cast were amazing. If you want to give it a rating, what did you say, like 3.5?
I'm not really fond of ratings. I'm usually either good, okay, or bad.
Yeah, me neither. I think what it does is it does some things very well. It does some things not well. It does some things really badly. But I think that, as I said earlier, the good really outweighs the bad with this. And there's a so Little White Lies. The way they score things is they do it in terms of in anticipation at the time and then in retrospect. And I think anticipation was about a 5 at the time. Honestly, I would have said about a 2.5. About a 2. I really, at the time, I wasn't sure. But in retrospect, I would say a 3, possibly a 4, to use their scorings. But it's a good movie. It is a good movie. But I think for me, if I'm looking at a horror film, especially my favourite horror book ever, the scariest book I've ever read, I really wanted this film to scare me, and it just didn't. It didn't. And it's a good film, but the most damning comment I can give on this movie is this, right? My girlfriend, when we came out of the cinema, her first sentence to me was, "What a nice film."
Oh. That's not the phrasing you want to hear. I came out of it going like, that was awesome. Good. I'm glad I watched that.
No, because she said she really loved all the stuff with the kids, like the coming of age stuff, and they come together.
That sounds like Monty Python. Two old ladies going like, "Oh dearie, what a nice film we just watched."
Do you know what I mean? And no, but like I said, I think that film's at its best when Pennywise isn't on screen, and that's a big negative. But it's worth seeing. It's a good film. It's a good film. It's a good film. It's not scary, definitely. But it's a good film.
Definitely. If you're listening to this, you haven't seen it yet, you're doing things a little bit the wrong way. But
absolutely, yeah. You're probably going to enjoy it a lot less now. But
no, because I don't think we actually spoiled anything really. Well, it's a very hard movie to spoil because all the beats are.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you go watch a horror movie, if you go watch a horror movie where it's kids versus a monster, you fully expect the if you go and see this going, I wonder if the monster will kill all of the children, then you've never seen any horror film ever made.
And even still, we haven't discussed any of the really shocking turns regarding some of the parents, so let's get that.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
So this was a brand new TLDR at the movies. We haven't done it several years.
Hell yes.
That was quite good.
That was quite good. So,
dear listener, see you soon.
Hopefully.
Or hear you soon. You hear me soon.
Hopefully. At us, dear listener. At TLDR _podcast?
TL_DR podcast.
At Dutch Ticker. At StuBram2.
Not StuBram. StuBram2.
StuBram2. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Comment. Upvote.
And let us know what you thought worked about this film and didn't work. Because, as you now may have noticed, that Stuart and I both like it, but he didn't like Pennywise being on screen as much as I did.
Yes.
And the jump scares. Did the jump scares work for you, listener? Tell me now!
Are you a fan of jump scares? If so, I don't want to hear from you.
But StuBram.
But Floris does, so at Dutch Ticker. Oh, I love jump scares too.
I fucking love jump scares. It's the best thing in life. So, Stuart?
Yeah.
Have a good night.